Jazz is definitely one of those characters that deserve to be in Transformers Prime. In all honesty, I think he should have. His relationship with Cliffjumper was definitely would have been more impactful than with RC if he was there to witness him get killed by Starscream, considering he and Cliffjumper basically had that brotherly relationship. But how would I write Jazz into Transformers Prime, and how would I have him be a much more impactful character? So let's begin. Obviously, we have to go over his Fall of Cybertron story and change it a little bit. Now, I would have had Decepticon forces, right, invading a laboratory. This laboratory would also be invaded by the likes of main Decepticons, Dragstrip, Quake, and the Combaticons. The Combaticons will be outside while Dragstrip and Quake launch an assault getting inside of it. This base will be guarded by the Wreckers like in the Aligned novel. The Wreckers would actually be the ones, guarding this base here. As in the Aligned novels, they were actually guarding this scientific base here, who were trying to complete the scientific protocols for the Protectobots, which are actually canon to Transformers Prime, believe it or not. So the Combaticons would have then combined into Bruticus, and we would have seen Autobots Roadbuster and Whirl, state that this is actually beginning to become, a lot more dangerous, as Bruticus is pretty much known to, pretty much wreckers here. I think that's the best way I could put it here. Roadbuster would have then told Whirl to go inside and inform Ultra Magnus. Whirl would have definitely did that, as he would definitely been the fastest one to do it at the moment, and he's the closest one to the door here. Whirl would have then been able to see Ultra Magnus and Quake getting into a scuffle, to which Ultra Magnus would have definitely told him to hold back, to definitely hold back here. And the fact that they're being overwhelmed by the Decepticon forces here would definitely be noted. Ultra Magnus would be in a confrontation with Quake here, who would be his physical equal, but Ultra Magnus would have the edge in terms of skill. Using his skill, Ultra Magnus definitely gets the upper hand and is definitely able to kill Quake, but would be definitely be injured due to his fight, as again, that would not be a very easy fight, as again, Quake is his physical equal match. So then you have Optimus Prime sending in Autobot Special Forces. I think that would have been a great way to show Jazz in this here, because in IDW Comics, Jazz is known as a special ops, the only special ops, by the way. But in this one, I would have given him a team: Depthcharge, Blue Streak, and Scattershot. So this team would have been a very diverse Autobot team, specifically to guard, infiltrate, and destroy some elite Decepticons. So this team is basically the elite guard that's above the elite guard. Matter of fact, it's more secretive, because this team was put together to deal with Autobots and deal with Decepticons that were way too powerful for even the Wreckers to handle. This team would basically be above the Wreckers, not only in rank, but in power. Scattershot and Blue Streak would have immediately taken to dealing with Bruticus, while Jazz and Depthcharge went inside to deal with any more Decepticons. Depthcharge immediately would have laid cover fire for the scientists being, attacked by any Decepticon troopers, while Scattershot and Blue Streak are outside dealing with Bruticus, actually being able to overwhelm him with their strategies, skill, and firepower. Impactor, the Wrecker commander, or at least the Wrecker second in command here, while Ultra Magnus is, basically the main commander here, would have stated to Topspin that they are going to need air support, and would have told Topspin to take to the skies immediately. This is when he actually instructs Twin Twist to play the center, and actually begins to has Twin Twist transform into his tank mode, and Twin Twist actually agrees and pretty much barrels down on Bruticus here, while Impactor takes a higher route and actually begins to attack Bruticus's head from behind. With this combination, plus with the elite guards mainly doing the heavy lifting here, they're able to overwhelm and even pretty much push back Bruticus. with the help of Roadbuster and Whirl, who just eventually arrived here, they'd be able to pretty much, push back Bruticus to get him further away from the laboratory so that it's not damaged. This comes in handy here, as Roadbuster is a pretty good is pretty much the ammunitions member of the records. He has a lot of firepower apparently. Impactor would also note this and begin to strategize, putting the wreckers where they need to be. Back inside, Jazz has just killed Dragstrip. I wouldn't say it's a close fight. Nah, we're going to leave it as pretty much a manhandle. Jazz manhandles Dragstrip so bad that he offlines him by accident. Ultra Magnus would have then noted that Jazz's special forces couldn't have gotten here any sooner, and that he would have been grateful that they're here to, pretty much help them with this, pretty much helping them with this endeavor here. So in all honesty, yeah, Ultramax is pretty grateful that Jazz is here, and definitely wishes that the Wreckers could have handled it better. But again, they weren't prepared for Bruticus showing up as always. Jazz would immediately went outside and went to attack Bruticus. Using his grapple hook, he would have told the other Wreckers to pull back and maintain defenses while his team maintains an offense here. Impactor would have complied, and this would have lasted a while until we see the Protectobots come out. The Protectobots would have been upgraded and newly, revamped, re-edited, everything. They would actually sported Jazz's special ops symbol, which would have shocked him. This is when Hotspot tells his team to combine into Defensor. The combination even shocks Bruticus, and Defensors is just a little bit taller than Bruticus. We'll say like it's a 2-inch noticeable difference. I think that would have been better. Okay, how that would have been a lot better. Okay, so this would have basically been the entire Autobot special forces here, basically taking down the Combaticons here. The Combaticons would have been knocked back so hard that they would have to separate and they would have to retreat. Optimus Prime would have then later arrived with Autobots like Cliffjumper, Ironhide, and I think Cup. I think Cup should have definitely been in here. Sporting, and Cup would have definitely been sporting an Autobot Special Forces insignia. Okay? This is when Cup actually ordains Jazz as the new head of Special Forces, putting him in charge of it. Jazz would have been welcomed by the honor and actually would have stated that it's a new age for the Autobots here and that the victory is soon to be theirs. And this also means the Protectobots are under Jazz's command here, which is why they sport the Autobot Special Forces insignia. Now, the way I would have had it is probably just like a cigarette maybe in the Autobot symbol's mouth, sporting a military hat. Pretty much like a symbol, like almost like Autobot Cup in a way. So that, well, he kind of did start it as he's giving the position to Jazz here. And I think that would have been the best way to pretty much show the Autobot Special Forces as a whole. So Jazz would have been in charge of the Protectobots, accompanied with Depthcharge, Blue Streak, and Scattershot. Now, during Fall of Cybertron, this would have been interesting. Scattershot and Blue Streak would have been killed off with the Wreckers, with some of the Wreckers here, due to Megatron, the Combaticons, Starscream, and Soundwave. They're in that facility where Megatron has to take where Optimus has to take on the final warp cannon, and we'll say that a heated battle took place there. But unfortunately, some of the Wreckers, but with Blue Streak, and rest of them dead, that basically eliminates half of Jazz's team here. But they do take out some Decepticons, even wounding some of the Combaticons like Swindle, Vortex, and Blastoff, which basically shows how they're not there in that scene where Optimus Prime is basically captured by Starscream and the Combaticons. So during these events here, I still think Jazz would have definitely gotten with Depthcharge, with the likes of Autobots like Hotspot, First Aid, and the rest of the Protectobot. They would have been making their way around the battlefield, helping other Autobots. We would see a moment where they help Cliffjumper, they help Wheeljack, they help Hound, they even help RC. Okay, they start helping a bunch of Autobot blockades actually push through here and begin to overwhelm the Decepticon forces. However, once they make their way to the final warp cannon, they actually see Ultra Magnus driving out with the likes of Roadbuster and Whirl. Yeah, not all the Wreckers die in this one, guys. This would have been very impactful here. And I think this would have been definitely a moment where they actually go on and they actually encounter Wheeljack and Bulkhead, pretty much informing them about how many Wreckers were killed by the Combaticons during that whole assault. Megatron doesn't lift a finger in this one. We actually get to see the flashback scene where the Combaticons actually kill the Wreckers. During this time, however, Jazz can only inform them that they're going to have to be working with him right now in order to, well, basically keep Iacon safe here. So the Wreckers actually take to some of the lower ground areas to push around the Decepticon forces, and they actually regroup with the likes of Wheeljack, Bulkhead, and Hound, while Jazz, the Protectobots, and his pal Depthcharge are actually, being able to cover some of the top levels, while Optimus Prime goes on to pretty much disable the final warp cannon. After that, I think everything else will be the same, except it gets a little bit more peaceful. The Protectobots are in another part of Iacon, pretty much making sure every Autobot is well taken care of. And I think Jazz will go on his mission with Cliffjumper to the Sea of Rust. And that's where I'm going to leave it off here for just this little bit of part 1.